They're just MAGA or they're enlightened centrist semi-MAGA. And here's what people need to realize, man. We've seen this example 5,000 times. We've seen this with sloppy Steve Bannon. We've seen this with Joe Rogan, the human thumb. We've seen this with Laura Loomer. Every now and then, you'll have one of those people, they'll stand up. I'm not sure I agree with you cutting Medicaid while not touching defense spending. That's what Steve Bannon said the other day. Joe Rogan, hey, I'm not sure getting rid of due process and rounding people up is necessarily the best idea. Laura Loomer, hey, I'm not sure you should take the $400 million Qatari jet. So they'll have these moments where they say something that you're like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. But then what happens? Politics is about movements. Politics is about directionally where are you going? And either in the same day or the very next day, all of these people will go right back to coddling Trump's nutsack and giving him the sloppiest blowjob of all time.
The vanguard will be there, sir.
I do have a speaking of Joe Rogan, the human thumb, as you dubbed him, I have a quick clip of Joe for you to react to, Kyle, because he's still out here as of like 3 or 4 days ago, spreading an insane lie, one that's already been debunked. This is from Joe Rogan 2316 with Cameron Haynes, who's a master bow hunter.
Oh yeah, Cam Haynes is a staple, a fixture of the JRE.
Well, here's a great screenshot of Joe for everyone to enjoy. But take a look at this, because again, this is the most easily debunkable bullshit. I can't believe that he's still spreading this lie after multiple people, yourself included, have already pointed out that it is in fact a lie. But here we go. Let's take a look at what is being programmed on JRE these days.
Cut down on. Mark Andreessen was telling me about debanking, which I didn't even know existed, where people that had certain political donations and political persuasions, they would take their banking away. They did no crime. They just say, you can't bank here anymore. You got to go find another bank. And there's only like a few banks. They're all owned by giant mega corporations. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, it's no different. That kind of reminds me of what happened in Canada with the truckers.
Yes.
I mean, they froze
Anyway, in this one, he didn't mention the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, but in previous episodes, he's basically blamed them and identified them as the cause of the debanking, which is totally wild and inaccurate. Either way, I know you were just mentioning Rogan and how he, gave Trump a little bit of pushback with the due process thing, I believe, or the deportations to El Salvador. But what's your current outlook on that show? And do you think there's any chance he'll eventually turn on Trump?
He is a useful idiot for all of the oligarchs, which is why he should change his show name to the Joe Rogan Oligarch Experience, because seemingly every other week he has on one of the worst people in the fucking country that's destroying this country, like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Mark Andreessen or Peter Thiel, a guy who literally looks like a vampire, like he was sucking a child's blood 5 minutes before he went on air. He has these absolute sociopaths on to spread rank propaganda. And by the way, multiple of those oligarchs came on and all made the same point about the CFPB. And knowing exactly what to say to Rogan to get him to fall for their bullshit, knowing he cares about debanking and shit like that. The CFPB, the organization they keep attacking, the agency they keep attacking, it literally does the opposite. It protects people from debanking. He could not be more wrong, and he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about, and he's in over his head. The CFPB returned $20 billion to Americans who were defrauded by big financial institutions, and his fucking buddy Elon Musk went in there and ripped it to shreds and destroyed the agency. So now, if you have some problem where a big bank commits fraud or takes your money or overcharges you or whatever the fuck, good fucking luck. Good luck trying to get your money back. People had amazing stories, myself included. The CFPB helped me and gave me money back that was stolen from me by Discover Card. Like, this is, guys, this is insane where we're at right now. He doesn't know anything. He's a useful idiot for the oligarchy. And at this point, shit, maybe it is on purpose. The man's got more money than he knows what to fucking do with, right? Clearly, all he cares about is getting lower taxes. He's literally in the friend group of Trump and Elon and Don Jr., and he texts them on a regular basis. This is why I say, like, who gives a shit that he said, oh, actually, due process might be important, when directionally, this is where the show is going. Has he even mentioned Trump's fucking scam meme coin where he robbed his own supporters? No, he has. Like, this is, I'm sorry, but he's an enemy. These people
Did you
are
watch
enemies.
Did you watch the Douglas Murray debate with
Yes.
Dave Smith? What do you think of that? Because I do think Rogan did a decent job moderating that. I feel like that's the only thing he's really good at these days is like just being the sort of moderator of a conversation. Because I also liked his debate between Graham Hancock and Flint Dibble from earlier in the year. But as I said at the time, those are the only two podcasts I've actually enjoyed from the whole Joe Rogan experience
Yeah.
in 2025. But what was your thoughts on the Dave Smith versus Douglas Murray?
On the overarching point, Douglas Murray was right that you guys pretend to be experts and you don't know fucking anything. But the reason why it doesn't land from him is because he's exactly that on the issue of Gaza. And Dave Smith is way more educated on the issue of Gaza, knows the facts way more, actually gives a shit about the babies who are being bombed. So that criticism needed to be made to Rogan's face, but not by that guy's the messenger, because that guy's guilty of the shit that he's accusing Joe of being guilty.
That's what I said too.
Right?
It was frustrating.
Yeah, no,
also
it
the
is
same thing
frustrating.
When it's Sam Harris, he's the same thing. Like now he cares about Joe Rogan platforming misinformation because he's not getting called from Joe Rogan to come on the show because his whole intellectual dark web app or web act, is kind of tired and over with, right? You know what I mean? Now there are new people. Now there's the Dave Smith. Now there's the, new guys on the block that Joe Rogan can have on to kind of spew whatever is popular. And so it doesn't really land. When it comes to the entire media apparatus, though, it does seem like right-wing media, is still just hog-sucking Trump media, right? It doesn't seem like there's been a big shift. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about PBD, because PBD has come onto my radar in a big fucking way, particularly over the last couple of years. I know he's been trying to break into the game for a long time with his Valuetainment. He obviously ran an MLM marketing scheme. He's a known fraudster. He's a known, kind of huckster, right? But he's very, very good at what he does. He's very good at presenting himself as a businessman, and he's really successful in building up his brand. Do you see him as kind of like a successor to Joe Rogan as Joe Rogan kind of ages out of his relevance? He is getting older. I know I kind of jumped the gun with how irrelevant Joe Rogan would be in my analysis before the election. I was like, fuck Joe Rogan. Everybody I ever knew that liked Joe Rogan when I was growing up thinks he's fucking washed now, yada, yada. Clearly, there were a bunch of people that still watched him. But I see PBD kind of taking different shots and expanding in a way that Rogan never did. He has the Her Take show now with Anna Kasparian and Jillian Michaels from The Biggest Loser and like Lindy Lee and a bunch of other conservatives. And it's like the women's conservative view show. And he's, kind of getting his hand in all these different honeypots. Do you think he'll kind of take over Joe as the, main voice for conservative men in America? Or do you think he's flash in the pan kind of a guy?
I think in due time, he will similarly be washed because there's no... I'm sorry, there's no room for that sort of shit anymore. You'll see. It's starting to die out. It's going to die out even harder. But like the future of right-wing political commentary online, I see it in a similar way to how Hassan sees it. I think if you want your regular run-of-the-mill, low IQ Trump defense, you go to a guy like Asmund Gold, who he says he's not political, but he's actually super political, and he sucks Trump off on a daily basis using the dumbest low IQ arguments you've ever heard. And if you don't go that path, you end up going like the Nick Fuentes Groyper route, where they're like, fuck it, just give me the straight dope. Just give me the Nazism now. We don't need to pretend anymore. We can be open and honest with what we believe. And so the future of right-wing commentary, I see it half the low IQ Asmund Gold stuff, and then the other half, or maybe 20 or 30% being the Fuentes stuff. And guys, I think Ben Shapiro, I think he's pretty much washed. I think the Daily Wire is pretty much washed. I think Jordan Peterson is pretty much washed. I think Rogan is washed and getting more washed by the day because they're in an untenable position, right? Like what's their take going to be? Just standard run-of-the-mill Trump defense at the same time that now this motherfucker has a 39% approval rating after being in office a little over 100 days, and that shit is going to go down ski until we get to like 25 or something like that as he keeps destroying everything. So there's going to be no market for the fake highfalutin, high IQ veneer of intellectualism and defense of Trump like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson. And there's going to be no market for, as we're already seeing, the downfall of Rogan with his like, I'm just a regular guy, but also Trump is right about everything, but also I'm not political. And there's going to be no room for any of that. I mean, I honestly think we've already seen the beginning of a massive, burgeoning, flourishing, liberal and left-wing rise on YouTube. I mean, you're literally seeing the fucking Midas Touch guys ended up ousting Joe Rogan as the #1 podcast in the country. And all of their content is just like, look, Trump's a fucking asshole. Look at this. Look at the asshole shit he did. Right. And by the way, that could have been TYT. Like TYT, if they were just the same as they were in 2017, that could have been them. They could have been the one with the #1 podcast in the world right now. But now, they fell down this sort of enlightened centrist pipeline, and there's zero appetite for enlightened centrism, zero appetite for enlightened centrism right now, rightfully so, by the way. And there's zero appetite for the fake high IQ conservative arguments like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. And like I said, Rogan is getting washed. The future is Asmongold, and the future is Nick Fuentes. But more importantly, the real future is liberal and left-wing criticism of Trump, because those are the people with all the energy right now. We have all the vibes on our side. We have all the movement on our side. When people tune in, they're like, oh, what did this asshole do now? What the fuck is going on? Like every day it's something new, and people can't look away from the fucking train crash that is this regime.
I agree with a ton of what you're saying. The reason that PBD stands out to me is he's kind of taken on this idea that what people love about Donald Trump is that he's rich and that he's successful, and that to them being a successful, good businessman is like the pinnacle of America, right? So do you not think that there will be anybody that's able to kind of poach that element? I was rewatching The Apprentice, right? And it started to give me good context into how like a lot of Americans who had taken a long break from Donald Trump kind of started to remember him when he was out of politics, and the break perhaps from when he was president and during the Biden years. I don't know what it was that made people launder their opinion of him, but potentially, the big business, the glitz and glam. So that was the thing that I feel like leads me to think maybe a guy like PBD could sneak through. But I totally agree with you that it is also going to be the Asmongold. It's going to be, who's that comedian guy that he's from Louisiana or whatever? I can't remember his fucking name. But he was really popular. He cut his teeth on the fucking Joe Rogan Experience all the time.
You're talking about Theo
Vaughn. Yeah, exactly. Guys like that who don't necessarily, come across as the sharpest tools in the shed. Now, I think Theo Vaughn actually is kind of a smart guy. He puts together a really good comedy act, whatever. But when he presents himself, it's pretty dumb, right? And I think Asmongold is really, really fucking dumb. I think Theo might be a little dumb too. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, do you think that there is going to be any home for the business bro, I'm into venture capital and I love Trump too?
No, I think that's on the way out, and I think it's on the way out very quickly. I think that there's a natural disadvantage online if you're doing the I'm the savvy business guy, and also Trump is right about everything. I'm telling you, it's going to be the scarlet letter, bro. It's going to be a stain you can't wash off. If you were riding Trump so hard, it's going to be a stain you can't wash off. And I mean, it's already at the point where it's untenable. Like the fact that, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all a fucking mirage. The guy lies about everything, and there's only so much of that normies can take. Yeah, Trump will have 25% of the country that'll never abandon him, but the internet is absolutely shit. People probably have a hard time remembering this, but back during the Obama era in 2008, 2009, 2010, there was the left that was huge online, and there was no right wing, right? And then the pendulum swung back in the other direction.
You could argue that's why the Young Turks positioned themselves originally in the way that they did.
Yeah, for sure. They were the only game in town. Them and David Pakman were like the only game in town for such a long time. And they were, they were killing it. And then the pendulum swung the other way. And then now it's already happening. The pendulum is already moving back to the left. And I think a lot of these people are just going to be fucking blindsided. And when all the views dry up, and the other thing is none of them are fucking principled. None of them actually fucking believe shit. Because again, this stuff is so indefensible. Trump came out the other day and said, I got an amazing ceasefire for India and Pakistan. And then India and Pakistan come out the same day and they're like, the fuck are you talking about? We didn't talk to you at all. This is just totally made up. Trump said the same thing with, I got a great deal with China. We got a wonderful deal. Come to find out, he just himself, he was like, I'm lowering the tariff to 30%. China didn't give a fucking inch. They didn't say anything. Yeah. The lies are so... At some point, I always say this, reality will always eventually catch up to you. Yes, Trump is a master manipulator. So is Elon Musk. They find a way to keep plowing ahead, regardless of how wrong they are. He truly is a right-wing postmodernist in that he shapes his truth. But eventually, you're already seeing it clonk him over the head, which is why he's at a historically low approval rating at this point in his presidency. In the history of polling, 39% after 100 days is catastrophic, bro. And we're just getting started, too. They're just MAGA or they're enlightened centrist semi-MAGA. And here's what people need to realize, man. We've seen this example 5,000 times, and I'm over it. And people need to start seeing through the bullshit. We've seen this with sloppy Steve Bannon. We've seen this with Joe Rogan, the human thumb. We've seen this with Laura Loomer. Every now and then, you'll have one of those people, they'll stand up. I'm not sure I agree with you cutting Medicaid while not touching defense spending. That's what Steve Bannon said the other day. Joe Rogan, hey, I'm not sure getting rid of due process and rounding people up is necessarily the best idea. Laura Loomer, hey, I'm not sure you should take the $400 million Qatari jet. So they'll have these moments where they say something that you're like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. But then what happens? Politics is about movements. Politics is about directionally where are you going? And either in the same day or the very next day, all of these people will go right back to coddling Trump's nutsack and giving him the sloppiest blowjob of all time. So you can't look at, hey, 1% of the time you said something which is kind of reasonable, even though you soft pedaled the shit out of your criticisms. But 99% of the time, you're acting like Trump is your savior and the God, Emperor, Overlord, King. And what? I'm supposed to sit here and say, yeah, let's fucking hold hands and sing Kumbaya? No, these people are frauds. And what's happening is they're seeing the wave of anti-Trumpism sweep across this country among liberals and leftists and just normies. And so they're realizing, oh, okay, all right, shit, I can't ride his cock 24/7. I got to find at least some little areas where oh, no, you guys are right on this one little thing. But no, they're never going to actually be allies. When a push comes to shove, they're never going to vote for the shit that you want them to vote for. And with somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay, so she said, I would be against a war with Iran. Well, where the fuck were you when Trump increased drone strikes over 400% and you were singing his praises? Where the fuck were you when he assassinated Qasem Soleimani? What's that?
Oh, or voting for the $1 trillion Pentagon bill.
And zero criticism. So in other words, the record was already there to show Trump is a fraud. Trump is a warmonger. He's an imperialist. He's corrupt. He's horrible. And now I'm supposed to pretend you're some sort of ally or hero because 1% of the time you said I slightly disagree with him on that. And even when they disagree, they fucking soft pedal it. They soft pedal it.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard